Hello everyone, and thanks for joining. I really appreciate your support. And don't be afraid to like and subscribe if you enjoy this little really amateur homemade movie channel. I'd really appreciate it. So I'm the dad of a 14-year-old boy. And like many parents, it's a real rare treat, isn't it, when your kid wants to hang out with you. I'd love to say he's a film fan, but I would be lying. He comes from the world of shorts. Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Insta, etc. Anything over a minute long and he gets bored. But what can you do? Anyway, the other day I was settling down, cup of tea in hand, electric blanket over me, live in a cold house, and I had the perfect film lined up. I was planning to watch the 1962 absolute classic, The Haunting, and if you haven't seen this supernatural thriller, I recommend it. And then in he comes asking me, do you want to watch Full Metal Jacket with me? And who am I to say no? Why that, I asked him. I was a bit baffled by this choice. And guess what? He'd saw a clip on YouTube and he thought it looked interesting. Now, I'm not going to turn down this opportunity to hang out. So Full Metal Jacket was a really interesting choice actually, and I haven't seen it since the early 90s. Now obviously I remember all the famous bits of the movie, but the majority of it's actually quite a bit blurry. Now I want to be upfront and honest, I don't really remember loving it at the time. Now in my teenage mind it just wasn't Platoon, which to me still gets a regular watch. I think with Full Metal Jacket I watched it once, then I left it alone. So it may be fun now to see what I think about this film after all these years. Will it still leave me feeling cold? Who knows? Let's get into this. Full Metal Jacket was released in 1987 and it was the second from last film from Stanley Kubrick. Now it's based on Gustav Hesford's 1979 autobiographical novel The Short Timers. It was all about his experiences in the Vietnam conflict as a combat correspondent. The film itself was co-written by Kubrick along with American war correspondent and writer Michael Herr. So you could say the two of the writers involved here had direct experiences of conflict. So realistically the movie should really reflect truth. The movie is clearly a film of two distinct halves. The first follows a platoon of US Marines through boot camp in Parris Island, South Carolina in the 1960s. The movie opens with the recruits getting their heads shaved. Then quickly Gunnery Sergeant Hartman is introduced as he hastily welcomes the men to boot camp. Hartman insults, punches, brutalises, chokes the recruits to initiate them, reserving his most vicious brutality for one of the characters called Leonard Lawrence, who he quickly nicknames Private Pile. The film narrows in on four distinct characters: Pile, Joker, Cowboy, and of course the Staff Sergeant, all nicknames given to them by the drill instructor. We watch as Pile consistently incurs the wrath of Hartman and becomes the focus of his brutality. As he is an overweight boy, he cannot really keep up with the others, and we watch him as Pile slowly mentally breaks down and how this affects himself and those around him. The second half of the film then moves the setting on a few months to Da Nang in Vietnam, where we find Joker, who's now a combat correspondent for Stars and Stripes, along with his partner called Rafterman. Now Joker attends a series of briefings with his editor, who wants the men to write stories that pander to the supporters of the war effort, while Joker himself wants to go into battle so he can really report on what's actually happening. So we follow Joker as he travels into the war zone and finds the platoon, where he quickly reunites with Cowboy and follows him into action. So what's this film really all about? Well, to me it's got three distinct elements. The first is all around individuality. And I think that's the constant theme of the film actually, and it runs through the whole narrative. It's all about individuality, or really the need to cancel it, to remove it, to completely erase it. The characters through the training are forced to deny their character, their distinctive traits, even to a certain degree their own humanity. It's about becoming born to kill. And this is apparent from the very first scene when they get their head shaved to remove all traces of themselves. The film also highlights the insanity and trauma of war. The film kind of expertly demonstrates the range of mental deterioration that can happen to men who are trained to do only one thing, and that's kill. Although everybody in the film reacts to the challenges in a different way, no one really emerges unscathed from the horror they're witness to. And to me, the final element is about masculinity. Well, it's quite obvious this one, isn't it? It's a really masculine film, I think there's only 3 ladies in it. It's about masculinity in all of its forms. It's around the damage that men do to each other, both physically and emotionally. Even the majority of the insults that they throw at each other, all by their drill instructor, are attempts to kind of insult their masculinity. It could also be argued there are other themes here. Obviously you've got the duality of man, you've got sexuality, but to me it's about those 3 big hitters. As this is Kubrick, you'd expect it to look incredible, and it does, kind of. Now the first section of the film to me is picture perfect. Every frame is perfection, it's clean, it's uniformed, and it really helps drive the narrative forward. For want of a better word, it's very clinically shot, but that's the world they're living in. But I do feel visually the second half of the film lets it down. Now bear with me on this, and I think this is very much a me issue. Now the film itself wasn't shot anywhere near Vietnam actually. It was made in East London, Beckton to be precise. The director didn't like to travel, so instead of going to Vietnam, he brought Vietnam to London and flew in a few real and plastic trees. And to me it's kind of obvious we're not in Asia here. It's apparent in the sky, the weather, there's no humidity in the air. Even the buildings themselves are classic 70s London. And what they've done, they've thrown a bit of Vietnamese language across it. But to me, it kind of looks obvious we're not where we should be. And because of that, I kind of get taken out of the atmosphere of the film a little bit. So did I like the movie? Well, yes I did. But as I said, it's really a film of 2 halves. I think the first section of the movie is as good as any film ever could be. It's emotional, it's brutal, it's really thought-provoking, and they do that with very little dialogue actually. And it's frankly terrifying in places, especially when we look at how well part and Pole's decline is shown on screen. I think it's the second part for me lets it down. There is no narrative here. I get the brutality of war element, but for me there's no story to hold on to. There's very little character development. Apart from men being men, there's nothing else here. And as I kind of mentioned, it's in London, not Vietnam. I have to say as a whole, I think the film to a certain degree is style over substance. I think it's a solid movie, I just don't think it's a great one. I still prefer Platoon to be fair. I think I may get judged unfairly here, but I think it's a 3 out of 5 movie. Well, that's all from me. It was real fun going back to watch this movie. I hope you enjoyed the quick video. Please don't be afraid to like and subscribe. I'd love to know what your thoughts on the film are, so leave them in the comments or email me directly and I maybe put that into a future video. My email address will be linked in the description. That's all from me and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.